What's up, everybody? It's Old Man Winter 8 for Sun and Ski Sports, and we're going to find out if the Arbor Satori is a wise buy for you. So the Arbor Satori is a pretty rad board in the Arbor lineup. It has a very, very unique shape and unique style of riding. It is a directional twin, so we are looking at this thing and it looks very, very directional. But the main reason they call it a directional twin is that because from contact point to contact point, the stance is actually centered up. So when you're riding this thing on flat snow, it's gonna feel a lot more like a twin tip board than you would think. Riding it switch, when you're not looking down and seeing this little tiny tail versus this big nose, it's really gonna feel the same riding it backwards. And another big thing about this board is that it is a volume shifted board. You are supposed to buy it a little bit shorter than the standard length you would usually ride. This thing has a volume shift of 3 to 5 centimeters. So let's say in your standard snowboard, you usually ride a 154 to a 156. Well, in this board, you'd want to get the 151. They've made it a little bit shorter, but they've also made it wider to accommodate the foot of a bigger rider. They've also made it a little bit stiffer so it has the flex of a board that's a little bit bigger too. So it is going to feel like a bigger board underneath your feet than the length that it actually is. And then when we go into the shape of this board, it does have 6 millimeters of taper. So the nose is a little bit wider than the tail. That's basically just giving you a little bit more float. So you are getting a little bit more of an advantage when you're riding in one way, but it's not going to hinder you when you are riding switch. And then when we go to the bend of this thing, it is a traditional camber from contact point to contact point. But a very cool thing is a lot of the Arbor boards have these fenders on the side where essentially from here to here through the middle of your contact point, they've lifted the board up so you do get a little bit more of a catch-free feel. And you get a board that doesn't feel like it wants to be on edge all the time, but when you do tip this thing up just a little bit, the entire edge engages, but it engages easily and smoothly, and you're locked into your carb. And then like most of the Arbor boards, they have their grip tech at your feet, where this is basically a spot where in addition to your contact points at the beginning and end of your side cut, it bumps out a little bit at your feet. So when you go to lay this thing on edge, especially on those harder, icier conditions, you're getting a couple extra points that are gonna dig in and rip into that hard, icy snow. And then we're looking at the construction. This thing does have a mixed glass in it, so we're doing one layer of biaxial and one layer of triaxial. So you're getting all the smoothness and easy feel of the biaxial fiberglass, but you're still getting a little bit more spring, a little bit more pop and stability of the triaxial fiberglass. And then it does have a carbon stringer that does run from tip to tail that is basically affecting the board in the stability wise and the pop wise, but torsionally, since it's not going across the board, it's not making the board super, super aggressive from edge to edge. This way you get nice, easy, smooth feel from edge to edge, but when you go to pop this thing and when you go to lay on it in a carve, it's gonna push back and it's gonna give you that extra spring and it's gonna give you that extra stability of a stiffer board. And if that wasn't enough, it does have a real wood top sheet. When you do look at this thing and you see the black and you kind of see this wood in between, a good thing to notice is that ink is on top of wood. That's not a graphic, that actually is wood. Now, why that's important and the reason that Arbor uses real wood on their top sheet is that it is a very, very thin wood, so it's not adding any weight to your board compared to a normal ABS style top sheet, but it is adding spring, it's adding pop, and it's adding stability in the entire board because the entire top sheet is made out of that wood. But even though it is a medium flex, when you need it to feel like a stiffer board, it's gonna feel like a stiffer board. And then when we get to the bottom of this thing, it does have a centered base, so super, super durable. It is a very, very fast board right out of the shrink wrap. But is the Arbor Satori a wise buy for you? Well, this is for those intermediate to advanced riders who want a very, very nimble board. They're probably gonna be doing a lot of free riding. Obviously that directional shape, even though the stance is centered up, you're gonna wanna have a lot of float. You're getting that extra length in the nose, you're getting that extra width in the nose, you're getting that little bit of a swallow, the narrow and the shorter tail. That's gonna cause the board to sit down in the tail and lift up in the nose. So this thing is going to be a dream in the powder, especially when you get it into the trees. When you have that volume shift, that just makes for a board that is a lot more nimble and less swing weight, so a board that you can get from toe edge to heel edge and back and forth very, very fast. But all that being said, going back to the stance and how it's centered up on the side cut, the really cool thing about this board is that if you want to dip into the park every once in a while, this is not a bad board to go out and jump and maybe hit a couple rails here and there, even though it's not its primary focus. This is an awesome board for those people that say, you know what, I just want one board that I can ride everywhere, that one board quiver. I'm probably not riding the park as much, but I want that capability. Or the other thing is volume shift boards, fantastic boards to have as a second board in your quiver. Just a board to go out and ride on a day where you're not sure what the conditions are and you want to be ready for everything and you don't want to have to keep going back to the car to keep switching out boards. But if you got any questions about anything that we talked about in the video, definitely leave some comments down below. Also make sure to like and subscribe to Sun and Ski YouTube and head on over to any of the Sun and Ski locations or check them out at sunandski.com.